Happy New Year, everyone. This is Ed Nodohara. Happy 2021. Doesn't seem to roll off the tongue like 2020, but 2021 it is. I hope everyone is doing well. My mom always said, don't watch too much TV or you'll go blind. So remember that when you're watching your 10th bowl game of the day. We'll start off the New Year service with sutra chanting Jusege.
Yo service, the members of the San Jose Buddhist Church, Beijing, have reverently come before Ina Buddha with reverence and thankfulness for the all-embracing wisdom and compassion of Amina. Amen.
So now, please join me reading Three Treasures. Please show me Nigasho. Hard is it to be born into human life? Now where you live in it. Difficult is it to hear the teaching of the blessed one? Now we hear it. If we do not deliver ourselves in the present life, no hope is that there shall be free from suffering and sorrow in the ocean of birth and death. Let us reverently take refuge in three treasures of truth. I take refuge in Buddha. May we all together absorb into ourselves the principle of the way to enlightenment, and awaken in ourselves our spring will. I take refuge in Dhamma. May we all together be submerged in the deep doctrine and gain wisdom as deep as the ocean. I take refuge in Sangha. May we all together become units in the true accord in your way of harmony, in the spirit of universal brotherhood, free from the bondage of selfishness. Even through ages of myriads of kalpas, hard is it to hear such an excellent, profound, and wonderful doctrine. Now we are able to hear it and receive it. Let us thoroughly understand the true meaning of Tathagata's teaching. Namo Amida Butsu.
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 Good morning, everyone. Happy New Year. So I'd like to deliver my message both in Japanese and English. So I am always very grateful for your support, and I'm very happy that we can still share the same special and refreshing vibes of New Year's Day with everyone through this online service. I guess many of you have had the quiet holiday season, which are different from normal ones due to this pandemic. But although I have no idea when we can get out of this lockdown, but I hope that vaccine will be quickly and equally distributed to everyone, and we'll be able to live safely and see each other in person at Bitsing as soon as possible. In 2021, I wish we will continue to appreciate Amita's wisdom and compassion, and respect each other in the Sangha, the society, and this whole world. Thank you for your continued support in 2021. Thank you. おはようございます。皆さん明けましておめでとうございます。こうして、YouTube オンラインのサービスで、離れていますけれども、年末、年明け、お正月を一緒にこうして、爽やかな、雰囲気をね、皆さんと、シェアできているのがね、すごくありがたいことだなというふうに思います。コロナの影響で、静かなこう、ね、ホリデーシーズンを迎えだったと思うんですけれども、静かなお正月をお過ごしのことだと思いますが、この状態からいつこう抜け出せるかわからないですけれども、ワクチンがね、こう早く、接種がこうね、進んでいって、そして、ね、一人一人にちゃんと聞いて、一日でも早く皆さんにこう安全で安心してこう生活できる生活が戻ってくるといいなと願っています。2021年も皆さんで仏様の願いをね、聞かせていただいて、そしてお互いを大切にできるサンガ、社会、そして世界でありたいなと願っています。2021年もどうぞよろしくお願いいたします。Thank you for listening.
Good morning. Happy New Year. As we begin this new year, we look forward to hopefully a year in which our circumstances will improve, that we will be able to get ahead of this pandemic that has been causing such great hardship, havoc, sadness for so many lives. Last night, as we were watching some of the New Year's events, there's no more Times Square. Well, at least it wasn't Times Square celebration as we've had in the past, which was good because they took precautions and they tried to reduce the amount of contact. And normally there would be 1 million people in the streets, shoulder to shoulder, and this year was much safer of example of that celebration. But one of the things that people were saying was we were glad that we're done with 2020, and that with 2021 everything will be different now. But in a way, it's true. 2021 is going to be different, but even with the changing of a day, going from one day to the next, we need to also continue to be aware of the circumstances that we are in. That the pandemic has not gone away because we decide that this day is New Year's Day and yesterday was last year. The pandemic will continue to be a part of our lives, and we will continue to need to be vigilant, practice social distancing, being aware of the needs of others and responding in a way that's compassionate, caring. It's so hard to keep track of all of the things that are going on in the world. We see what's happening through our news feeds and through our social media, and we get slices, bits and pieces of what's happening in the world. And it's so hard to kind of figure out what is real and what is not real, or what is dependent upon truth and what is dependent upon speculation and fancy. It is very difficult to make that determination. Things like QAnon has continues to have tremendous influence in the lives of people. Not only how they think, but how they interact with the world around us. And we may not be see ourselves as being members or supporters of QAnon, but at the same time, how do we determine what is real, what is true? That's a question that Shakyamuni Buddha started with. He said, you need to kind of figure out how we're viewing the world and how that view of the world really is influencing the way that we engage the world. And if we view the world through a narrow lens, then our engagement with the world will be through that narrow lens. In this poll that NPR and ISPO, one of the things that came out of their poll, and this was about 1,100 something people, so there's a kind of a accuracy of about maybe 3% plus or minus. But in this poll, one of the questions, or one of the things that they were looking for, and polls are really, very, I wouldn't say they're arbitrary, but certainly it depends on how well the questions are developed, or the poll is developed, that there is always a possibility of influencing the responses of the people who you are polling. And good poll takers or creators of polls spend a great deal of time trying to not influence the people who are taking the poll, and that the questions or the answers to the questions that are posed are really from a very objective questioner to a person who is responding through their experience. Well, one of the things that they found in this poll, and I was kind of surprised. Well, I shouldn't say really surprised, but one of the things that they determined was that the population trusts or relies upon the opinion and the words of their religious leaders. That's us. And I would think that you should also be questioning what I'm saying, because Shakyamuni Buddha said of himself, he said, don't rely upon what I've said. You have to figure this out for yourself. You have to test for yourself. One of the last things that Shakyamuni Buddha said, he said, be a lamp unto yourself. Seek out your salvation with diligence. You have to be responsible for the information and the view that you have of the world around you. I think Buddhism is so critical in this time when we're so isolated and our information and the contact with the world around us is so limited. We hear about these toilet paper runs. It seems so crazy, but fortunately, the other day when I went into Costco, there were lots of toilet paper, lots of paper towel. The time before that I went, it was cleaned out again. It was just as they were reinstating the lockdown for Santa Clara County, expanding the protocols. But I just happened to go in and I was looking around, and all of the toilet paper had been depleted, and the paper towels. Actually, I was looking for paper towel and I couldn't find my normal brand. But the other day when I went in, lots of Bounty paper towel. But we respond to the world based upon the information that we receive. And with that information, we engage the world. So Buddhism suggests, that we really need to kind of examine how we're thinking about the world in which we live. And it's at the core of the teachings of the Buddha. This is the first thing he talked about in his Four Noble Truths, right? He said, we experience difficulties and we cause difficulties because of how we see the world. Those difficulties are not because of what's out there. It's because of how we see the world and how we engage the world, how we respond to what we're seeing. So this poll taken by NPR and this finding that they had that religious teachers are people that others come to, that they go to, and they listen to the words of the instructions of religious leaders and spiritual leaders. And Buddhism, the religious leaders and the spiritual leaders of Buddhism would suggest you have to really take a look at the world around you as best as you can, and to determine what is true and real. Today, as we participate in this New Year's Day service, it is indeed another year that's stretching out before us. But today is not unlike yesterday. Today is still one more day in our lives that we share with the world around us, that we are a part of, that we are an integral part of that life that flows through all of us, that supports us and nurtures us, and we simply need to be aware of. And we respond through compassion, through acts of kindness, through being aware of the needs of others, and to respond in a way that expresses that compassion. There's a great deal to look forward to. And when I say a lot to look forward to, it's not just things that will bring us joy, but things that will bring us great difficulties. There's no question about it. This pandemic that we are a part of continues to grow, continues to have tremendous impact on the people around us. And we can, as best as we can, need to be aware of the people that are close to us, certainly, but to the community that we are all a part of. That is not just in our neighborhoods, in our cities and towns, but actually extends out to all life. In Jodo Shinshu, of course, like all Buddhism, the central concern is always the resolution of difficulties. But we understand that the assurance of Amida Buddha allows us to look more openly at ourselves, to be more forgiving of ourselves, to be able to respond with a sense of gratitude and appreciation for all that we are able to receive and experience. This past year, the leadership of the Bitsing, the members of the Bitsing have done a tremendous amount to assure the continuation of this temple. The minister assistants have also done their part. Our minister's assistants, Sumi Tanabe, heads, she's kind of the de facto Komon chair. Everything, they seem to be kind of revolving around Sumi as she keeps information flowing to the Komon. And the Komon are the senior advisors of the temple. And we rely upon their advice, their knowledge of the history and the importance of the Bitsing. And they are a resource that the Bitsing truly relies upon and is grateful for. Dennis Akizuki, and although his involvement with Obon at home was as a moderator, I don't think that was just he wasn't a moderator. He was kind of a host of what was happening during the Obon, and as a chairman of the Obon, he also took on that responsibility and the planning for that. But he's also involved, as is Sumi, with the leadership of the Bitsing. And Michael Jones has been leading study classes for many months now. We transitioned to Zoom meetings early in the pandemic and have continued to have these classes twice a month, where we kind of gather together, share thoughts. Michael prepares material for the classes, and we are able to enjoy the opportunity to share the Dharma. There are so many individuals whose help with the Bitsing has made it possible for us to continue. The Dharma school teachers who continue to meet with their students throughout this time. I know Steve Sorokubo is in our Zoom meeting this morning. He is the superintendent of our Dharma school. The scout leaders just concluded normally it would be a 3-day camp out in our gym. And I would, we would come in New Year's Eve morning or New Year's Day morning and have, sometimes they would have pancakes and sausage that we would be able to enjoy because they're having a retreat, a leadership retreat during this New Year's weekend. And they still observed that retreat this year, but they too conducted that retreat over the internet through Zoom. So many examples of people, really pitching in, taking up the task of making things work. And because of that, and I know I'm not mentioning everyone, that I know I've missed people who have made tremendous contributions to helping us through this really challenging time. And to all of you, thank you very much. I wish On behalf of the leadership of the Betsing, the staff members who have done a tremendous amount of, again, work. They're here on shifts throughout the week. And so when you call, you won't get someone to pick up the phone, but if you leave a message, they will respond. And if there is a need, they will contact us, and we will try to meet whatever needs that you might have from the Betsing. They continue to do the essential work to continue to allow this temple to function. Thank you to all of you throughout this very difficult time. And from our family and all of us, we want to thank you for your continued support that we received and we've enjoyed for so many years here at the Betsing. We look forward every day to the opportunity to share with you the teachings of the Buddha, to allow us to continue to be a part of this wonderful Sangha. Thank you very much. At this time, we will install, let's see. We have a message from the president, Ed Amuro, our immediate past president, our soon to be installed secretary of the Betsing, who we've not had for many years, will now introduce the Steve Onishi.
Yeah. Thank you, Rinban. Thank you, Sensei and Rinban, for the very important message this morning. Did anyone notice that the emoji when your video is off looks like kagari mochi or kazari mochi? So I just thought I'd throw that in. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce a message from our new president, Steve Onishi.
Thank you, Ed. Before I start, I'd like to mention to Rinban on your message, if there really is going to be a shortage on toilet paper, I'm going to be experiencing many difficulties. I just throw that out there. Anyway, let me get started here. Ohayo gozaimasu, akimashite omedetou gozaimasu. I wish I could have said, thank goodness it's finally 2021 in Japanese. Yes, 2020 was a crazy year. Between the global pandemic, social injustice and global warming issues, out of control partisan politics, it was a year that we will always remember. Even though it was a tough year, there were quite a few bright spots as well. A new vaccine was developed in record time. Politics can now begin to return to normal. The pandemic and wildfire issues identified real-life heroes, those willing to risk their own health and in fact their own lives for the good of others. Or as they said in Star Trek, the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few or the one. Wow, can't believe I quoted Spock in the speech of the church. I'm proud of how our Sangha has responded to these unusual conditions. We have successfully transitioned most church functions to the new shelter-in-place environment. All services and meetings are now online. In fact, Rinban Sakamoto and Mikami Sensei have learned to become TV producers, single-handedly producing our weekly services on YouTube. The office staff has continued to carry on the business of the Betsuin. Lotus has successfully implemented a remote learning program with their students. Can you imagine all the kids on a Zoom call, all trying to talk and talk with their friends? The most significant hurdle was crossed by Ms. Lin when she learned how to use the mute all button on their Zoom classes. Dharma classes in Japanese language school have transitioned to remote learning. Youth organizations like YBA and Scouting meet online. There have also been many other accomplishments this past year. We had a very successful Cato Kai event in November that reached out to over 70 of our Cato and delivered a small gift to each. The next time you visit the church, once we can, you'll be amazed by the work of the garden committee, who re-landscaped the garden between the Hondo and offices. Beautiful. One of the biggest events, though, was our Obon at Home program. I hope that everyone got a chance to see the event. Mas Nishimura and his team of volunteers put this entire program together with only a couple of months' notice. The day-long program consisted of both live and tape segments to remind people of what Obon means to us. It was viewed by people from around the world, truly amazing. So what's in store for 2021? Well, we'll certainly not be meeting in person for a while longer. We're going to be conservative as the safety of the Sangha is paramount. That means more remote learning and online stuff. Can you imagine what this pandemic would have been like 15, 20 years ago? No Zoom or WebEx, no Netflix, no Amazon. We will continue to hold as many of our activities virtually as we can. So we are always looking for some new good ideas on ways to improve them. So please let us know if you have any. One significant activity that will be finalizing plans for Generations Phase 2, construction of a new education building in Lotus Preschool. Plans are to be finalized this year and our fundraising efforts will begin. Based on the success of Phase 1, the gym seismic upgrade and remodel, our expectation is that this facility will be a significant asset to not only the Betsuin, but the entire Japantown community. I'd like to thank Ed Notohara for successfully leading us through these past 2 years as board president, and also the entire board of directors and all those others that have donated their time and efforts to continue to support the Betsuin. And of course, a special thanks to Rinban Sakamoto and Mikami Sensei, who ensure the continued successful operation of the Betsuin. I am excited by the vision and energy of our temple members. While it is still unclear when we may be able to visit the church again to be with friends and participate in its many activities, rest assured that it will happen eventually. Until that time, wear a mask to protect all who are weaker than myself. Arigatou gozaimasu.
Thank you, Steve. Looking forward to your leadership in the years to come, not just in next year, but I want to emphasize in the years to come. So, thank you, Steve. And to all the officers of the Bitsing and the board members, the members of several boards are participating in this morning's service through Zoom. And at this time, we'll conduct the installation of officers for the organizations of the Betsy. So, if you would please join me in Gassho. You, the newly elected officers of the San Jose Buddhist Church, Betsy, in accepting office, take upon yourselves certain responsibilities for your son. Are you ready to work for the common good? Are you determined to do your part during your term in office? To share the Buddha Dharma by living a life of gratitude for the compassion of Amida? Will you do these with all your might, without fear or favor, irrespective of class, color, and creed, and thereby help to lay the foundation through which future generations may build a Sangha to the teachings of the Buddha shall be shared with others? If you will take these responsibilities upon your shoulders, please repeat the following affirmation. If you would repeat the name of the organization as I continue with this. I take office in.
I
I take office in
Board of Directors,
Of the organization.
the Board of
of
Directors,
the
BWA.
board of directors,
Realizing my responsibilities.
realizing my responsibilities,
Determined to do all in my power.
determined to do
determined to do all in my power,
At all times.
board of directors,
Oh, you should say the organization.
bless them.
Please join me in gospel.
Nama.
Nam-myoho-renge-kyo.
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 Thank you, everyone. Thank you very much for your commitment to the work of the Bitsing and the commitment of your time to fulfilling that responsibility. Throughout the years, many of you have spent a great deal of time here during the work of organizing, directing, building the Sangha. The temple building is certainly a reminder of the history of this organization. As we gather in this Hondo again sometime in the future, this Hondo that we come together in was built in 1937. So nearly, how many years is that? 80 years, 90 years? But it's a reminder of the many activities and events that have been a part of the Bitsing's history. And throughout that time, there have been people who have accepted the responsibility of leadership through the many challenges that the Bitsing has faced in its past. And the challenges that we face in our future. The leadership of the Bitsing has risen to the occasion, committed themselves to do the work, to keep this Bitsing safe, to keep this Bitsing a place in which people can gather and hear the teachings of the Buddha, and also to assure that future generations will be able to enjoy what we do today. Thank you again to all of the officers of the various organizations who make that commitment to share the Dharma to all who would come to hear the teachings of the Buddha. Thank you all very much, and congratulations to you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Rinpon. Are there any announcements? If not, thank you, Rinpon Sakamoto and Reverend Mikame for officiating our first 2021 New Year's service. On behalf of the Bitsuin board, thank you to all who have stepped up to the very important leadership positions in each of the clubs and committees. I'd like to reiterate my appreciation to the board for their support for the last 2 years. Again, under my tenure, there were no bloodshed, no attempted coup, no talk of impeachment that I know of, and no assassination attempts. I leave to Steve all buildings intact, most bills paid, and Rinpon and Sensei in good spirits. I wish you the best this year and years to come. Happy New Year, everyone, and thank you very much. This concludes the service.
We did indeed have a peaceful transition of power. Thank you for all of your work and your contributions. Ed mentioned in his opening remarks about mochi, and Steve mentioned in his talk about trying to find a mochi. This year, we were uncertain of where the mochi would come from that we would put in the Onaijin and the Nonkotsudo. And the Aso family, Greg Aso and Marlene and Deborah, stepped up and said they would make the mochi for us this year. So we were able to have mochi in the Onaijin and the Nonkotsudo again this year because again of people stepping up, providing for the needs of the Bitsing. Again, thank you very much. Thank you, Ed, for your service and continued service. And Steve, look forward to your leadership in the years to come. Happy New Year, everyone. Please stay safe. Enjoy this brief respite from the busyness of our everyday lives. Thank you very much, everybody. Stay safe.
Goodbye. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Okay, okay.
I think I'm going to turn off the YouTube.